Hello, Joy family. Welcome to the Joyful House. It is Sunday, August the 3rd, 2025, and welcome to Once Upon a Storybook. We are continuing the Anne of Green Gables series, book number 4, Anne of Windy Poplars. And today we're going to actually read 2 chapters because they're rather small. So if you will, sit back, relax, and let's enjoy this storybook adventure. Chapter 3, Windy Poplars, Spooks Lane, East Side, October 25th. Gilbert, dear, what do you think? I've been to supper at Maplehurst. Miss Ellen herself wrote the invitation. Rebecca Dew was really excited. She had never believed they would take any notice of me, and she was quite sure it was not out of friendliness. They have some sinister motive that I'm certain of, she exclaimed. I really had some such feeling in my own mind. Be sure you put on your best, ordered Rebecca Dew. So I put on my pretty cream chalice dress with the purple violets in it, and I did my hair the new way with the dip in the forehead. It was very becoming. The ladies of Maplehurst are positively delightful in their own way, Gilbert. I could love them if they would let me. Maplehurst is a proud, exclusive house which draws in trees around it and won't associate with common houses. It has a big, white, wooden woman off the bow of old Captain Abraham's famous ship, the Go and Asker, in the orchard, and billows of southern wood about the front steps, which was brought out from the old country over 100 years ago by the first emigrating Pringle. They have another ancestor who fought at the Battle of Minden, and his sword is hanging on the parlor wall beside Captain Abraham's portrait. Captain Abraham was their father, and they are evidently tremendously proud of him. They have stately mirrors over the old black fluted mantels, a glass case with wax flowers in it, pictures full of the beauty of the ships of long ago, a hair wreath containing the hair of every known Pringle, big conch shells, and a quilt on the spare room bed quilted in infinitesimal fans. We sat in the parlor on mahogany Sheraton chairs. It was hung with silver-striped wallpaper, heavy brocade curtains at the windows, marble-top tables, one bearing a beautiful model of a ship with crimson hull and snow-white sails, the Go and Asker, an enormous chandelier, all glass and dingle-dangle suspended from the ceiling, a round mirror with a clock in the center, something Captain Abraham had brought home from foreign parts. It was wonderful. I'd like something like it in our house of dreams. The very shadows were eloquent and traditional. Miss Ellen showed me millions, more or less, of Pringle photographs, many of them daguerreotypes in leather cases. A big tortoiseshell cat came in, jumped on my knee, and was at once whisked out to the kitchen by Miss Ellen. She apologized to me, but I expect she had previously apologized to the cat in the kitchen. Miss Ellen did most of the talking. Miss Sarah, a tiny thing in a black silk dress and starched petticoat with snow-white hair and eyes as black as her dress, thin, vain hands folding on her lap amid fine lace ruffles, sad, lovely, gentle, looked almost too fragile to talk. And yet I got the impression, Gilbert, that every Pringle of the clan, including Miss Ellen herself, danced to her piping. We had a delicious supper. The water was cold, the linen beautiful, the dishes and glassware thin. We were waited on by a maid, quite as aloof and aristocratic as themselves, but Miss Sarah pretended to be a little deaf whenever I spoke to her, and I thought every mouthful would choke me. All my courage oozed out of me. I felt just like a poor fly caught on flypaper. Gilbert, I can never conquer or win the royal family. I can see myself resigning at New Year's. I haven't a chance against a clan like that. And yet I couldn't help feeling a little sorry for the old ladies as I looked around their house. It had once lived. People had been born there, died there, exulted there, known sleep, despair, fear, joy, love, hope, hate, and now it has nothing but the memories by which they live, and their pride in them. Aunt Chatty is much upset because when she unfolded clean sheets for my bed today, she found a diamond-shaped crease in the center. She is sure it foretells a death in the household. Aunt Kate is very much disgusted with such superstition, but I believe I rather like superstitious people. They lend color to life. Wouldn't it be a rather drab world if everybody was wise and sensible and good? What would we find to talk about? We had a catastrophe here 2 nights ago. Dusty Miller stayed out all night, and in spite of Rebecca Dew's stentorian shouts of puss in backyard, and when he turned up in the morning, oh, such a looking cat. One eye was closed completely, and there was a lump as big as an egg on his jaw. His fur was stiff with mud, and one paw was bitten through. But what a triumphant, unrepentant look he had in his one good eye. The widows were horrified, but Rebecca Dew said exultantly, "That cat has never had a good fight in his life before, and I'll bet the other cats look far worse than he does." A fog is creeping up the harbor tonight, blotting out the red road that little Elizabeth wants to explore. Weeds and leaves are burning in all the town gardens, and the combination of smoke and fog is making Spooks Lane an eerie, fascinating, enchanted place. It is growing late, and my bed says, "I have sleep for you." I've grown used to climbing a flight of steps into bed and climbing down them. Oh, Gilbert, I have never told anyone this, but it's too funny to keep any longer. The first morning I woke up in Windy Poplars, I forgot all about the steps and made a blithe morning spring out of bed. I came down like a thousand of brick, as Rebecca Dew would say. Luckily, I didn't break any bones, but I was black and blue for a week. Little Elizabeth and I are very good friends by now. She comes every evening for her milk because the woman is laid up with what Rebecca Dew calls brown kites. I always find her at the wall gate waiting for me, her big eyes full of twilight. We talk with the gate, which has never been opened for years. We talk with the gate. That's what it says. We talk with the gate, which has never been opened for years, between us. Oh, well, now that makes sense to finish the sentence. Elizabeth sips the glass of milk as slowly as possible in order to spin our conversation out. Always when the last drop is drained comes the tap-tap on the window. I have found that one of the things that is going to happen in tomorrow is that she will get a letter from her father. She has never got one. I wonder what the man can be thinking of. "You know, he couldn't bear the sight of me, Miss Shirley," she told me, "but he mightn't mind writing to me." "Who told you he couldn't bear the sight of you?" I asked indignantly. "The woman." Always when Elizabeth says "the woman," I can see her like a great big forbidding W, all angles and corners. And it must be true, or he would come to see me sometimes. She was Beth that night. It is only when she is Beth that she'll talk of her father. When she is Betty, she makes faces at her grandmother and the woman behind their backs. But when she turns into Elsie, she is sorry for it and thinks she ought to confess, but is scared to. Very rarely she is Elizabeth, and then she has the face of one who listens to fairy music and knows what roses and clovers talk about. She's the quaintest thing, Gilbert, as sensitive as one of the leaves of the windy poplars, and I love her. It infuriates me to know that those 2 terrible old women make her go to bed in the dark. The woman said I was big enough to sleep without a light, but I feel so small, Miss Shirley, because the night is so big and awful. And there is a stuffed crow in my room, and I'm afraid of it. The woman told me it would prick my eyes out if I cried. Oh my gosh. Of course, Miss Shirley, I don't believe that, but still I'm scared. Things whisper so to each other at night. But in tomorrow, I will never be scared of anything, not even of being kidnapped. But there is no danger of you being kidnapped, Elizabeth. The woman said there was if I went anywhere alone or talked to strange persons. But you're not a strange person, are you, Miss Shirley? No, darling. We've always known each other in tomorrow, I said. Chapter 4. Windy Poplars, Spooks Lane, S Side, November 10th. Dearest, it used to be that the person I hated most in the world was the person who spoiled my pen nib. But I can't hate Rebecca Dew in spite of her habit of using my pen to copy recipes when I'm in school. She's been doing it again, and as a result, you won't get a long or a loving letter this time. Beloved. The last cricket song has been sung. The evenings are so chilly now that I have a small, chubby, oblong wood stove in my room. Rebecca Dew put it up. I forgive her the pen for it. There's nothing that woman can't do, and she's always has a fire lighted for me in it when I come home from school. It is the tiniest of stoves. I could pick it up in my hands. It looks just like a pert little black dog on its 4 bandy iron legs. But when you fill it with hardwood sticks, it blooms rosy red and throws a wonderful heat, and you can't think how cozy it is. I'm sitting before it now with my feet on its tiny hearth, scribbling to you on my knee. Everyone else in S Side, more or less, is at the Hardy Pringles dance. I was not invited. And Rebecca Dew is so cross about it that I'd hate to be Dusty Miller. But when I think of Hardy's daughter, Myra, beautiful and brainless, trying to prove in an examination paper that the angles at the base of an isosceles triangle are equal, I forgive the entire Pringle clan. And last week she included Gallows Tree quite seriously in a list of trees. But to be just, all the Hallowers don't originate with the Pringles. Blake Fenton defined an alligator recently as a large kind of insect. Such are the highlights of a teacher's life. It feels like snow tonight. I like an evening when it feels like snow. The wind is blowing in turret and tree and making my cozy room seem even cozier. The last golden leaf will be blown from the aspens tonight. I think I've been invited to supper everywhere by now. I mean to the homes of all my pupils, both in town and country. And oh, Gilbert darling, I am so sick of pumpkin preserves. Never, never let us have pumpkin preserves in our house of dreams. Almost everywhere I've gone for the last month, I have had pumpkin preserve for supper. The first time I had it, I loved it. It was so golden that I felt I was eating preserved sunshine, and I incautiously raved about it. It got bruited about, and I was very fond of pumpkin preserve, and people had it on purpose for me. Last night I was going to Mr. Hamilton's, and Rebecca Dew assured me that I wouldn't have to eat pumpkin preserve there because none of the Hamiltons liked it. But when we sat down for supper, there on the sideboard was the inevitable cut glass bowl full of pumpkin preserve. I hadn't any pumpkin preserves of my own, said Miss Hamilton, ladling me out a generous dishful. But I heard you was terrible partial to it, so when I was to my cousin's in Lowvale last Sunday, I says to her, I'm having Miss Shirley to supper this week, and she's terrible partial to pumpkin preserves. I wish she'd lend me a jar for her. So she did, and here it is, and you can take home what's left. You should have seen Rebecca Dew's face when I arrived home from the Hamiltons bearing a glass jar 2/3 full of pumpkin preserve. Nobody likes it here, so we buried it darkly at dead of night in the garden. You won't put this in a story, will you? She asked anxiously. Ever since Rebecca Dew discovered that I do an occasional bit of fiction for the magazines, She has lived in fear or hope, I don't know which, that I'll put everything that happens at Windy Poplars into a story. She wants me to write up the Pringles and blister them. But alas, it is the Pringles that are doing the blistering, and between them and my work in school, I have scant time for writing fiction. There are only withered leaves and frosted stems in the garden now. Rebecca Dew has done the standard roses up in straw and potato bags, and in the twilight they look exactly like a group of humpback old men leaning on staffs. I got a postcard from Davy today with 10 kisses crossed on it, and a letter from Priscilla written on some paper that a friend of hers in Japan sent her. Silky thin paper with dim cherry blossoms on it like ghost. I'm beginning to have my suspicions about that friend of hers. But your big fat letter was the purple gift the day gave me. I read it 4 times over to get every bit of it and savor it, like a dog polishing off a plate. That certainly isn't a romantic simile, but it's the one that just popped into my head. Still, letters, even the nicest, aren't satisfactory. I want to see you. I'm glad it's only 5 weeks to Christmas holidays. And that is the end. So we'll pick up next time with chapter 5 and maybe 6. I'll have to see how long they are. All right. Well, thank you for joining me for this storybook adventure. I hope you enjoyed it. And I look forward to seeing you next week, same time, for the next little adventure. Again, I don't know if it'll be 1 or 2 chapters, but we'll see when we get there. All right. Be joyful and be the joy in everything you do. Nugs and joy. Mwah. Bye.